Humanity Matters.
Hello and welcome to Many Voices, One Community, stories that unite us across Long Island and beyond. I'm Gaitley Stevenson Mathews. I'm so very pleased to be your host for this podcast, and what a special treat for me. Today, I have my good friend and a mover and shaker in our community and a Korean War veteran, Ben Farnan. Ben, it is such a pleasure to have you with us today. I know for viewers out there, I've been working to try to get Ben on this podcast for some time, but he is a very busy man. You might think at this point in your life that you might be slowing down, but when anybody who knows Ben Farnan knows he's not a man who slows down. He is a man who pulls people together, pulls causes together, and you've done so much in the course of your life so far, and I'm sure lots more. I just want to say it's a pleasure having you here. Anything you wanted to share from the opening? And then I'm going to ask about the name Farnan and moving to Glen Cove and growing up in Glen Cove. And then I want to talk a little bit about your service and also your impact on the community.
Well, thank you, Gaitley. Very nice introduction, no question. I've been a long time at Glen Cove all my life. Grew up and resided here for all these years, going on my 96th year, as you said.
Yes, I was looking at that. I should have asked before we went on, do you mind if I mention your age? But since you have, that is terrific. And just, Ben, you'd never guess it. Not only in the pace that you go in life, but also your outlook, and pretty darn incredible. And as you know, the number of times running the Tribute and Honor Foundation that I reach out to you, I appreciate your wisdom. But I want us to go back a little bit. And again, just to mention, you were the Commissioner of Public Safety for the city of Glen Cove, worked in education for many years, served our nation during the Korean War. But your family, the Farnan name, is that Irish, I'm assuming? Is that correct?
It is, but it is difficult to describe the Farnan name. Very few Farnans. If you look in any telephone directory or background in communities, it's an unusual name. You will often see the Farnham, H-A-M.
That would make sense.
That's British, English.
Right.
Now, the Farnan name, I don't know where the derivative was or came from originally. I know that my mother's maiden name was Gordon, and she was from Ireland, as my father was. But the Gordon name is Scottish.
Yes, certainly very well known.
Big clan called Clan Gordon.
Right, and the Gordon Highlanders, terrific pipe band. Yes.
As a matter of fact, my father left home when he was 14 years old because he was one of 17 children.
Oh my gosh!
And he had to get out to go to work, and he went to Scotland to work in the mines.
Wow.
And while he was in the mines is how he learned his trade. His trade became a master stonemason.
And is that the work that he did when he came to the U.S. and came to Glen Cove?
He came to Glen Cove as a bricklayer and a stonemason, and that's the work he did. As a matter of fact, he did a lot of work on this building. He was the stonemason for all of the Pratts and the Morgans.
Wow.
He was their man that did all of the infinite close work on their palatial estates and a lot of plots that are now known under different names, like the Harrison House and Glengariff and so on. They were all Pratt residents over the course of the years. My father worked for them. He learned that trade. And as a matter of fact, in World War I, he was drafted or consigned to the Scottish Highlanders. in World War.
Amazing,
Yeah.
incredible. So I'm both Irish and Scottish. The Gaitley is Irish,
Right.
and that's my dad's side of the family. But my mother's family were all MacNeils, and that background is Scottish, and in that area, the Carolinas. So. I know a good bit about that heritage. For those of you who are not from the North Shore of Long Island, I like to just share that we are often referred to as the Gold Coast for many of the estates that were here back before the turn of the last century. And we have so many people in this region who are descendants of people who came here as stonemasons or gardeners or cooks, involved with those large estates. And what a gift.
Right.
And you are the product then of one of those, correct?
That's absolutely right. My mother came here in the same fashion, and she was a upstairs chambermaid for the Smithers family, who were here for many years. And that's how my father met my mother. And in those days, the only thing you had to revolve around for social activity in the 20s was the church. And St. Patrick's Church was the one that my mother and father attended, and they met there at a local dance. And my mother was always very active in the church. She was a great reader of tea leaves.
Wow.
The cups and tea leaves. She had her own little table, and people would
which I think of it as an Asian art form,
to
right?
read the leaves,
right?
And she would shake the cup and read the leaves.
Oh,
she had the. She was blessed with the Blarney. There's no doubt about it. And she was helping at that time, of course, it was a wooden structured church, to make the monies that would go into building the edifice that it is today, St. Patrick's on the Hill.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And I will say, you and I both know a priest or two who probably wish that our families were more tied to church. We have many other distractions this day and age. But, my great-grandmother was a governess in a home, and that's how they met. So, so it's interesting how that our family's doing work and doing service. And then growing up in Glen Cove. So did you go to Glen Cove High School, or where did you?
Went to all of the public schools, the DC school in Glen Cove, the middle school, junior high school now. It was known when I went there. It's now called the middle school. And, of course, the high school. 4 years of the high school, Glen Cove. Absolutely.
And at what point in your journey did you enter the military? How old were you? When did you enter the military?
Well, what happened, Gaitley, it's funny. I realized when I got out of high school, and with what was happening in Korea in 1950, I graduated in 1948. And so I realized that I would probably have to face the upcoming surge that was happening in Korea. And so at that time, I had worked a number of years with my father in his trade, mixing for him, carrying the hod. A lot of people don't know what the hod is. The hod is a long tool that you would put on your shoulder, and it had like a V shape to it, and you would put the bricks on that, and you would walk up the ladder to put them on the scaffold for the bricklayer to build the chimney. And my father built a lot of chimneys, and with the flue, and we did a lot of cesspools. In those days, my father only had a small truck and a couple of wheelbarrows, the shovels, the implements.
So you dug the holes by hand?
Dug the holes by hand and threw it to a platform. And some of those for the cesspools were 13 feet deep until you met bank run, where you would have the good drainage. So those were the years that I learned a trade, a semi-trade from my father, just working with him. So the 2 years before I was inducted into Korea, I was drafted. Fortunately, what happened here in New York, they had enough individuals to select from. So the New York guys that were getting drafted for the Korean War were 21 years old. That was the draft age. A lot of other towns didn't have that many, so some of them were drafted at 18 or 19 that I met. But they were able to fill their quota in New York. So I was drafted at 21. I was playing semi-pro football. We had a great football background here in Glen Cove for years. And many of the fellas went on to play semi-pro football. When the World War II guys came back, they established a team called the Glen Cove Athletic Association. So I was playing semi-pro football at that time, and I was a union cement finisher.
Wow. So you were out and working.
Wow. Waiting for that time, and none in my family had attended college, and that was always something that I had as a motive to go through the military, and if I came back to take advantage of the GI Bill and to end up going to college, which I did, started at 24 years old and went to Adelphi when I came back.
So, as I remember, Gold Star, Silver Star, correct?
Right.
Right. And certainly served our nation with great valor, and we appreciate that. And I certainly, as some viewers know, you and I are connected via the Tribute and Honor Foundation, and we just had a pretty substantial fundraising and gala event.
Right.
And many know you from the community. I will say that the biggest initiative, and I moved here in 2007, so I'm a newcomer to Glen Cove.
True.
But the initiative that you've been involved with, and you've been involved with many, but the one that is so dear to my heart, partly because I'm close to it, I live half a block away from Morgan Park, is that beautiful World War II monument. And as I remember, you were the one who spearheaded that initiative. Is that not correct?
That's correct. And you were in the location right across the street from it. That's the first time I met you.
Yes, I think that's absolutely
down
right.
at that location. Yes, that was something that was really very close to me. When I was inducted to the service and drafted into the Army, I served in Korea in a recon outfit. We were one of the early ones that integrated. So a good part of the members of my particular company, which was a small elite company, were made up of Rangers and paratroopers and a lot of non-white individuals who were troopers, paratroopers, who took part in that because you got extra pay a month.
Right.
For $45 extra, I think it was, for being a paratrooper and jumping. But what had happened, that particular monument was located up on Carpenter Street next to a, you've got to call it what it is. It was a saloon,
Right. Yeah. And they had several in the landing. That could be like another show entirely because there were quite a few.
Sure.
But yes.
And the proprietors of that, the individual who ran that, had sons who were all in the military. Two boys who were in World War II in the Marines, and the younger boy who grew up with me, who went into the Air Force and flew the moon rocks back on Apollo 14.
Wow.
Incredible. And they were a popular a gathering place for the young fellows in the landing area during World War II. And so the father, Frank Militano, decided to put up a wooden structure with all their names on it as they got inducted in World War II. And that lasted for a number of years. When I came back from Korea and I started college, I got a job at the Glen Cove Hospital working as a maintenance man and a ambulance driver. They didn't have any ambulance facilities in Glen Cove at that time. The hospital did it. And so Doing that at that particular time, I also temporarily, when they had a bowling league, I would bartender in that particular facility. It was called Frank Star Tavern. Now, that outside monument to all of them lasted for a number of years, into, I think, the 60s, as my buddy, his name was Al Bones, that's what we called him, Bones Militano. He went to the flight school for the Air Force and graduated second in his class.
Wow.
And that's where he went on. He was a Vietnam war vet flying those open cockpit planes with a fellow Vietnamese in the cockpit behind them. They went to targets, knocking out railroads and bridges.
Wow, incredible.
And so I grew up with him, and I was very devoted to the fellas who served in World War II, and especially that group from the landing, because I knew so many of them personally. And when that became decrepit and almost unable to survive the weather conditions, is when it collapsed.
Right.
And I brought that up to the people in the city of Glen Cove, and I told them something had to be done for all those individuals who were remembered at one time. And that's where it started.
Right. And I will say, Ben, and this is so much to your credit, and having served our nation and having served our city as a in government, as a commissioner of public safety. But, you know, it's one thing. There are a lot of people who have ideas of things that should be done.
Right.
And, you know, sometimes you can't do everything that you feel like you should be done. But there are a lot of people who do nothing more than have ideas.
Right.
And the fact that you are someone who not only has the idea, but then moves it forward in a way that you and I both know sometimes negotiating government and those things can be a tricky thing. Sure. But your grace in working with everyone is what brought that to fruition. And how many, from the time that you thought this needs to happen until we had that amazing dedication, I was there.
Yes.
How long did that take? And I know there was like gathering names. There are a lot of components.
No question. When you take on something like that, you end up getting a location for it after the other one had, disappeared. It's going to be quite a quest. I had the notion that I would work through the VFWs and the Legions to run some fundraisers to acquire the money. But Ralph Swazi, then as the mayor, took it upon himself to talk to me about it and said that he was going to, through his administration, to strive to get funds as well towards this. And I must say, all of the members of the political scene, not only Ralph, but the other Reggie Spinello.
Right, and I was part of those too. I was
they
in
all
that
kept,
bunch,
kept it going. We kept it moving. And Carl Marcelino was a great factor in this as our senator from New York State. He got behind it as well.
Right.
He was a great person for Glen Cove. He had an absolute interest in the community as well as his own community.
Right. And yes, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And was able to take up these desires of people that had some good ideas and willing to put some effort behind it. And he supported it enthusiastically, no question.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will. I just wanted to interject again for those who may not be as familiar with Glen Cove. If you are in Glen Cove, make sure you head down to Morgan Park. It's at the end of Landing Road, and just at the entrance of that park is where the monument was placed and where it exists.
Correct.
Just to your right. So if you keep going down Landing Road, you will see the park, and at the main entrance, that monument stands there. as a testament to the bravery of those who served during World War II. And what a beautiful thing.
And it's a beautiful monument, and it's a great setting for the people that walk in the entrance of that park each day. That's the first thing they see, and they know it's going to be a nice outcome when they get to the waterfront. So it is an unusual park down there. Now, it's interesting that it's at the location it is, because we did have another location, but it was a part of the Morgan Park grounds, and you couldn't put the facility with public funds behind it. We had to get a little strip of public land, or that we could put it on, that had the designation of Glen Cove, and that ended up being
perfect.
Perfect.
Yes.
Absolutely perfect.
I always think about like the best laid plans of mice and men, right?
Correct.
We all think we have the best spot, and sometimes fate
Correct.
helps us see an even better spot.
Yes.
So I wanted to say, your journey, we could be here into next week.
Yes.
There are so many stories that I would love to hear from you, that I'm sure our viewers would love to hear. But I'd like to, as we're kind of needing to wind this down a little bit. So this program is called Many Voices, One Community.
Sure.
And the whole idea that we all come from different walks of life. Right. We all come from different political persuasions. We all, our heritage and our background and how we all got to be Americans and how we got to be here in Glen Cove or on Long Island. All are different. All are so very diversified. And you yourself, to have come up through the ranks at a time when, having an integrated military, right. For people today may think that that's not a big deal, but that was a big deal. That was a tricky thing for people at one point, which, again, you think you want the very best soldier you can for the job. End of the day, that strikes me as, ready for to go to war. But you and I have also seen through the Ben Farnan Scholarship, again, through the Tribute and Honor Foundation, there is a scholarship named in your honor that goes to graduating seniors who choose to enter the military.
Correct.
And in those awards, again, every race, every background, young people that we can be so proud of.
Right.
For a young person coming up through the ranks who is maybe considering entering the military, let's say it's a 14-year-old or a 16-year-old, what would your advice be for them?
Well, it's funny that you mentioned that, Gaitley. I often thought when I was going to high school, that how do you get some youngsters, pointing in that direction? We happened to have in our high school, we had a person called George who was the director of athletics, and he was also the phys ed teacher for the high school students, the boys. And he actually established a absolute course that you went through where you had to run and go over hurdles and go through ditches and climb through nets to go up over the...
Like basic training.
Like basic training. And he had wooden rifles that he used to have us march inside the gym.
Right.
With flankings and to the rear march and so on.
Sure.
And he knew that he had thought that would help World War II guys that were going at that particular time to be acclimated a little bit when they were inducted. And he set that all up outside and internally. We had what we call courses in the gym inside when it was inclement weather, where we had to go up the ropes and up nets and swing out and land and jump. So he was oriented that way. Some of the fellas thought it was kind of infantile,
Right.
But it helped them greatly
Right.
in their...
And you learn discipline.
Yes.
I mean, right?
And,
And structure in achieving things.
yeah.
So, Ben, I will say this has been just a wonderful time. I am, as you know, so appreciative of you and all of our women and men in uniform who have served our nation. And as you know, I have great respect also for the many and the vast majority who, when they come home, continue to serve.
Right.
And I feel like it is in the core of who you all are.
Right.
And having family who have done that as well, appreciative. And I am so very appreciative that you were able to join me today.
Well,
so thank
I'm
you,
delighted. And you had just mentioned to me about the youngsters going or
Yes.
thinking about
Yes.
that in alignment with our scholarship.
Yes.
I had been working indirectly for the last 20 years with Bob Pemberton and myself, hoping to get a junior ROTC program into our high schools somewhere along the line.
I would love to see that happen.
And with peacetime now,
Yes.
and so many new programs starting with the schools that the military is offering, with A1, you know, that,
Sure.
and these are times I think that youngsters could benefit from this.
I agree.
And I don't know whether they'd make it a career, but they'd get an opportunity
Well, and
to
also-
be in the military and get the GI Bill that could further their careers.
Absolutely. And as you and I both know, you know, with junior ROTC, it's not an obligation to go into the military,
Not at
but
all.
certainly some great training.
Yes.
On that, I got to wrap this up. Ben, again, it was such a very great pleasure, and we will continue this another time.
Always a pleasure being with
my
you,
friend.
Gaitley.
Thank you. And that's
Thank
it
you.
for Many Voices, One Community. I'm Gaitley Stevenson Mathews. See you next time. Thank you.